What's good, Philly? You're watching Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Coming up on today's show, we're going to take a look at 10 players who the Philadelphia 76ers could trade Ben Simmons for, and also is Joel Embiid growing frustrated with the situation with the Philadelphia 76ers. But first, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We just launched 76ers Now by Chat Sports over the summer. We are the fastest growing Sixers channel here on YouTube, quickly approaching 3,000 subscribers. The number of views that we've gotten over the last several weeks have been popping off, so show us some more support. If you want more videos like this, hit that red subscribe button down below. So Bleacher Report put together a list of 10 trade candidates for the Philadelphia 76ers if they wanted to trade Ben Simmons away, and I think it's inevitable. I think he's going to get dealt at some point, and really this list of 10 guys varies in terms of level of superstars, and I can kind of break it down into 3 different tiers: elite players, very good players, and then maybe role cusp type of players if the Sixers wanted to bring these guys in. Look, I know a lot of people are sleeping on Dillon Brooks. He's actually a really good player. He was overlooked at Oregon, comes into the league. He's put in so much work into developing his offensive craft and has turned into a really good two-way player. I would actually really like a package that would send Simmons away, getting back Dillon Brooks. I think he'd figure nicely into the Sixers' plans moving forward and right now. DeJounte Murray is another player who a lot of people aren't familiar with. He's a very good point guard for the San Antonio Spurs. I wouldn't say he has some Tyrese Maxey in his game, but he does have that level of quickness and level of explosiveness that I really like. He's also a 3-level scorer. You can rely on him to be a bucket getter late in games, and as evidenced by the Sixers' struggles late in that game against the Boston Celtics on Wednesday, that right now is their biggest flaw. They don't know who to go to down the stretch, and Doc Rivers' down the stretch play calling in terms of setting up the offensive sets, not good. Other 3 players, Jeremy Grant. We don't really need to talk about him a lot on today's show. I like his development. He's certainly much better than he was when the Sixers drafted him, but getting him back for Ben Simmons doesn't move the needle for me. CJ McCollum does. I think he can be one of those go-to guys. Some people might say, CJ McCollum, he comes up short in crunch time. He doesn't get a lot of offensive opportunities late in games. I'd like to see him get more, and he could do that with Philadelphia. OG Anunoby is a name that really intrigues me. The Toronto Raptors are just a player development factory. They've been able to develop guys like OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet, and some other guys, Pascal Siakam. What Nick Nurse and Masai Ujiri have done as an organization has really blown me away with their development of players over time. Gary Trent Jr. is another guy who got traded from the Blazers to the Raptors and is really flourishing in that system. This is where that list starts to get pretty interesting. You're looking at 5 players who I think should all entice the Sixers: Daryl Morey, Elton Brand in this organization, De'Aaron Fox, Jaylen Brown, Bradley Beal, James Harden, and Damian Lillard. Now, I'm not sure if Dame is going to be made available in a trade. If the Blazers continue to struggle, I could see that coming to fruition. James Harden is starting to play good basketball without the services of Kyrie Irving because of his vaccination status. He started the season very slow, but his shooting numbers starting to improve. And with Bradley Beal, I thought last year it was inevitable that he was going to get dealt away. But the Washington Wizards, one of the surprise teams in the NBA up to this point, his numbers have really suffered this year and gone downhill. But as a team, Washington has been very good. I like almost all of these players, to be honest with you. And I think all of them bring a different level of skill to the Sixers organization right now. Now, I would make a lot of these trades without sending away Tyrese Maxey. I think Maxey is really valuable right now and looking into the future and what he gives you in terms of just being confident offensively, not turning the ball over. He didn't play well against the Celtics, but I like his offensive growth for sure. And he's affordable. And I think that's one of the more important things right now because you're paying Joel Embiid a lot of money. You're paying Tobias Harris a lot of money as well. And Ben Simmons is on a max contract. If you get rid of that deal, you're going to bring in another fat contract and absorb that money as well. Sixers really just have to make a move, though. That's kind of where I'm getting toward. I can grow that, or I can kind of get the feeling right now, I've been doing live shows all day, that the Sixers And the organization and the players on the roster are really just kind of growing tired of the situation right now. They see that they can become a very good team, but COVID issues have crushed this team. Embiid was out of the lineup, and without him, they were just an average bunch to just being hard to watch at times. They know that they can be a very good team, but there needs to be a deal done in order for them to really move the needle and to become a real player in the Eastern Conference. And you have this whole Ben Simmons situation just hovering over this team right now. And I think Joel Embiid, as we're about to show you here in a few minutes, is just growing frustrated with what's happening and transpiring within this organization. And the season right now is kind of getting dicey. The Eastern Conference is as deep as it's ever been. Really over the last several years, you haven't seen the East, the depth of the teams be as good as it is here in 2021, 2022. And if the Sixers continue to struggle, the Ben Simmons saga continues to hover around and over this team, and they continue to lose games, they might just go in a downward trajectory, and I don't want to see that happen because I do think by bringing in another player, they can make things interesting in a packed Eastern Conference. Now, Bleacher Report did once again, in talking about this list of these top 10 players, bring up that Jaylen Brown deal that would send away Ben Simmons to the Boston Celtics and net Jaylen Brown. I think the Celtics would be crazy to trade away Jaylen Brown, a player-for-player swap for JB and Ben Simmons, but here's what they had to say about that deal. So Charania reported that any potential deal between Philly and Boston would have to include Jaylen Brown, something the Celtics and President Brad Stevens were unwilling to do. This doesn't mean that the 76ers should give up all hope just yet, however. In the 9 games Brown has missed because of injury, the Celtics are a surprising 6-3. The future of Jason Tatum and Brown together is certainly one that teams around the NBA will keep tabs on, although there's no reason for a split yet, with both under contract for the next 3+ years. So I want to ask you this. If you were running the Celtics, do you think it'd be a good idea for the Celtics to trade away Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons? I think it would be ludicrous for them as an organization to do that. I think the only way that the Sixers could get back Jaylen Brown in a deal that would include Ben Simmons is to also include Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle, and maybe a future first-round pick. And to me, that's way too fat of a price. So do you think the Celtics will split up Tatum and Brown? I don't think there's any reason for them to do that just yet, but let me know what you think they'll do in the future. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Be sure to get those votes in the comment section down below. So to round out and basically summarize these 10 players who Bleacher Report put together that list of who the Sixers could trade away Ben Simmons for: Dillon Brooks, DeJounte Murray, Jeremy Grant, CJ McCollum, OG Anunoby, De'Aaron Fox, Jaylen Brown, Bradley Beal, James Harden, and Damian Lillard. Once again, do want to emphasize that Lillard, Harden, Beal, and even Brown, very, very hard to get. But all those other players intrigue me, and I think they can add a little bit of pop to the Sixers roster right now. Among those guys, who do you like the most? Who do you think is the most feasible? Who is the most realistic Sixers trade target? Just drop me a name or names down below in the comment section and sound off right now. Do want to give a shout out to today's presenting sponsor, Fanatics, for making 76ers Now possible today. Right now, this 76ers hoodie, 50% off. It was $70. It's now on sale for $35. The holiday season is here, so treat yourself with a present or somebody who you care about with this fresh 76ers hoodie. You have to use that link at the bottom of your screen for this deal to apply. It's chatsports.com/76ers hoodie. If you have any questions about this, hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at Chase_Senior. That link is going to be in the description as well as the comment section of this video. Show topic number 2. Is Embiid getting frustrated with the Sixers? My man has had to deal with a lot since getting drafted number 3 several years ago out of Kansas. Missed his first 2 years because of those foot and back injuries. His younger brother passed away when he was just getting his NBA career started. He's had to deal with a lot of transactional and roster changes over time. They went from being in the process to being a contender. He wanted to hang on to Jimmy Butler, but Ben Simmons didn't want to play with JB, and then Ben Simmons kind of overtook Jimmy Butler, and the Sixers organization elected to move forward with Ben Simmons over JB. Joel Embiid was also really tight with J.J. Redick. There have been a plethora of injury issues that Embiid has had to deal with over time, a change in coaches, a change in general managers. My gosh, Joel Embiid has had to deal with a lot during his tenure with Philadelphia. Now, he signed that contract extension this offseason, so I don't think he's going to demand a trade at any point. It would go against anything and everything that he has said in the past, which is, I want to play for the Sixers for the remainder of my career. Now, he spoke up about this and spoke out about this following that disastrous performance against the Boston Celtics last night. Now, take it with a grain of salt. He's never played well against Al Horford. Enes Freedom, that's his name now, has had his number in the past as well, and Embiid has struggled against the Celtics a lot throughout his career. But last night, yeah, he's coming off of COVID. He said that he really had a negative side effect and side effects dealing with the coronavirus, but 13 points, 3 of 17 from the floor, 18 rebounds, and 3 blocks. If the Sixers get this version of Embiid against the Celtics in a playoff series coming down the stretch, it's not going to bode well, and this really isn't just a one-game concern. Outside of that game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Embiid has been bad. His field goal percentage is 10 points below what it was last year and by far the worst of his career. He spoke out about those frustrations, saying this, quote, "It's been the story of my early career in Philly. It feels like every single time we got something going, something always seems to happen or show up, and whether it's distractions or injuries, I can't be playing the way I've been playing these last 2 games for sure, especially when it comes to shot making. We are not even close to where we are supposed to be." And to add on to everything that I listed, it's the Ben Simmons saga. It's the Ben Simmons situation that's kind of hovering and festering with this organization. That's why I made that point earlier of just trading away Ben Simmons. Maybe you have to start new and just help Embiid out. He's tired of dealing with the drama. He's tired of dealing with all this change. He knows that because of the injury issues that he's had in the past, there is a minimal window right now for the Sixers to truly compete for a title. And he wants a player back for Ben Simmons who is going to help him compete for a title. And I feel bad for Embiid to a certain degree because on top of the personal issues and professional issues, disastrous quadruple bounce against Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors in Game 7 of that second round series, a complete choke job against the Atlanta Hawks. There's been a lot going on for Embiid. We know he can be an emotional guy. That's why I'm just telling Daryl Morey right now, trade away Ben Simmons and get Joel Embiid some help. And if that trade does happen, you know we have you covered right here on Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. Subscribe by hitting that red subscribe button down below. Go to youtube.com/76ers TV. Support a fellow Philly Bull and subscribe to the channel right now.